Now, let us look at some common types of research. Yes, there is exploratory research. This is undertaken to handle new problem areas that haven't been explored before. That is typically. Then there is descriptive research. This is undertaken to describe, explain, and validate the behavior of a sample population. And then there is explanatory research, which is undertaken to understand the impact of specific changes in existing standard procedures. These are not the only uh, types of research, but by and large, they are very common, the most common. Now, you can see exploratory. And it is normally unstructured and is normally conducted basically by asking questions. An example of exploratory research would be the implications of COVID-19 into the global economy. You can see COVID-19 has not been well researched, or it is pretty new. So that's why I say exploratory research is undertaken to handle new problem areas. So you go and explore what are the implications, what have been the effects of COVID-19 in the global economy. That becomes exploratory. The descriptive, we have said, it is undertaken to describe, explain, and validate the behavior of a sample population. Yes, this one is structured and is conducted by asking questions. A common apostle title will be Managerial Difficulties of Women-Led Engineering Firms. You can see, yes, women-led engineering firms exist, but they have not been described, or the difficulties that they face have not been described. So it becomes descriptive study. And explanatory, we have said, it is undertaken to understand the impact of specific changes in existing standard procedures. It is highly structured and it is conducted basically by using testable hypotheses. An example would be the effects of training on small scale farms performance. You can see here, setting a hypothesis is implied, like training has no effect on performance, becomes quantitative, so to speak. So these are some of the common types, or I would say the three common types of research. Let's go further and look at them from another perspective. Yes, the common types of research. We want to say that ideally, every research must go through these four stages. Or I would say these four stages are common in research. The first is a research question. There must be a research question, a statement of the problem. That is what like we start with. And then literature review. And then three, theory and hypothesis, or theoretical and variable-based conceptual frameworks. And then empirical study. Now let's superimpose the three common research types that we have seen onto this program or onto this process? Yes. Deductive research, explanatory research, causal research, quantitative research, theory or hypothesis testing research. That is, the explanatory group of research. Let's show it by that blue arrow. And let's now follow this arrow through the stages 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes, explanatory quantitative research starts with the research question or statement of the problem, then some literature review, then theory and hypothesis, theoretical variable-based conceptual frameworks, then the empirical study, and because we said research is re plus search, this continues because a new problem may arise and then this research goes on. So you can see that explanatory research goes through all the 4: research question, statement of the problem, literature review, hypothesis setting, conceptual framework, which has dependent and independent variables or simply variables, and then out there, empirical study, and so on and so forth. The second is exploratory research, which is inductive research, which is qualitative research, which is theory or hypothesis building, which are represented with the dotted arrow. Yes, it also starts with the research question, statement of the problem, and then again, literature review. We're talking mainly of preliminary literature review. And then from literature review, qualitative research does not set up testable hypotheses. From literature review, we go to empirical study, out there in the field, gather the data. And then when we've gathered the data, now from the data, build a theory, build a hypothesis, and continue again because research is re plus search. And then the descriptive research, the one that answers what is, about the existing situation, gives facts about existing situation, which are represented with the purple arrow. Yes, it also starts with research question, statement of the problem, literature review, then out empirical study, and back. In other words, it may not be necessary to set up a hypothesis, whether a working hypothesis or a testable hypothesis. Yes, one can do that, can set up a hypothesis, but it may not add value, or lack of hypothesis will not remove value. So these are the 3 common types of research that we saw. We have seen how they flow along these 4 stages of research. So beware that if you're doing explanatory, deductive research, it is imperative that all those 4 stages are undertaken. Maybe, let me call it the irreducible minimum, because these 4 are not the only stages of research. So there it is. Research types and the flow of the 4 stages. Now, what lessons have we learned from the 3 types of research above? 1. Problem statement Research question. Every research starts with it or must have it. Otherwise, what are you going to do if you don't have a problem? You're going out to do research because you want to solve a problem, fill a gap. So problem statement and research question exists for every research. Number 2, literature review. Again, every research requires literature review. Number 3, hypothesis. Yes, some researchers set and test hypotheses. That is quantitative, for example, explanatory. They will set and test the research, the hypothesis. But other researchers build the hypothesis at the end of the research, like the qualitative, the exploratory. They will build, they're called theory building or hypothesis building. They do not set up testable hypothesis, or it's not really a must. It may also not add a lot of value. So avoiding testable hypothesis for qualitative research, it will not reduce any value. And some researchers may not even need hypothesis. Some descriptive studies may not need hypothesis. You're just going there to describe what is existing. Perhaps setting an hypothesis may even derail, because a hypothesis makes you focus on that hypothesis, and anything outside the hypothesis, anything outside it may be lost. And then empirical study, again, every research requires it. So we have seen, therefore, that there are 3 common types of research. Exploratory, which is mainly or ideally qualitative. Then there is explanatory, which is basically quantitative, and there is descriptive. So 3 types of research. Thank you.